Hello, everybody, and welcome to today. I'm very excited. Of course, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and I just want to extend gratitude and thanks to Make It Work Nevada. Now, that being said, we're going to have a conversation today, which you're going to experience transparency, authenticity, and just more so a celebration of Hispanic and Afro Latinx culture and celebrating of one another and also speaking to some of the experiences that you may not be aware that individuals may face within being here within the United States. So let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to start by introducing the group who's here today. I'm very excited to know and learn their stories. Let's start with Ariel. I would like for you to tell me first where you're located, and also give me some background as far as your ethnic background, your ethnicity.
Perfect. Thank you, Tanisha. Bienvenido, everybody. My name is Ariel Jackson, and I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am Mexican, Spanish, Portuguese, and African American. So I got a whole lot going on for you guys. Basically, my family came to Las Vegas in the 60s, originally from El Paso, Texas, and New Mexico, Albuquerque. And we've been here ever since. And that's when my mother met my father here in Las Vegas on the historical west side of town, which actually is in the past been a segregated area where Black people were. I don't know if gentrified is necessarily the right word that we're looking for, but that was the designated area for Black people at that time. My family is still there today.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Ariel. Chelsea, what about you?
Hi, my name's Chelsea. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Currently, I am at a facility in San Francisco, but I live in the East Bay, Oakland in particular. Originally, I'm from Southern California. My family, my dad's side, my dad is Mexican. My mother is Black, Black American, Mexican American, from El Paso as well. My family's been there forever. I had some family in Juarez, but most of my family was in El Paso. So like the border just crossed us, when Texas was acquired by the U.S. Um, yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me participate in this chat. It's much needed to get our
Oh,
voices and our experiences out there. Thank you.
very much so needed. And I feel for those that are not of Afro Latinx descent, but also those who interact and maybe want a better understanding of what that means. Thank you for sharing, Chelsea. Now, Steve, how are you? And
I
can
am
you please
well.
tell us your little bit of your story so we can get a glimpse into who you are?
Sure. My name is Steve. I am currently in Southern California, out in the Inland Empire. I was actually born in Panama City, Panama. I came to the United States when I was around 12 years old, late 80s. In originally spent a couple years in Brooklyn, New York, and then we moved to Southern California, where I spent my high school years, and obviously been living in California ever since.
All right.
As far as my ethnicity, my mom's Hispanic and my father's Black. However, they're both from Panama, so I'm just from Panama.
Okay.
What?
All right, thank you. What I love about this, obviously, we see that there's such a wide array and stories thus far in our backgrounds. I'm going to go ahead and share mine. I'm Tanisha Nicole. I actually am here in Las Vegas, Nevada. My story is I'm actually Black and Mexican and white as well. Um, it's very interesting because my mother, who is white and Mexican, she grew up initially with her nana, which her grandmother, and the story is interesting because in that she was immersed within the Mexican culture. But then when her mother took her into her home, she kind of wasn't as exposed per se to, I guess, the language and everything else. So what's interesting in my story is that my mom had me when she was 15, and my father, who was African American, and they were very young. But prior to that, my uncle, I had learned prior to the meeting, he was African American, and his girlfriend actually was Hispanic. And unfortunately, there was a situation in which he attempted to shoot her as well. And I'm telling you the context of this, and he ended up killing himself. When my mom was pregnant with me, there was a scare within that community, because at that point, Mexicans and African Americans, there was this divide because of what happened with this, my uncle. So there was a fear when my parents started dating in school. And then here I came into the world. And my tata recently told me the background of my Mexican side, because I did not get to grow up per se. We were a military family. And I learned that my grandfather, he had came from Mexico, and he worked irrigation, and they lived in the tents and whatnot. And to find out that history of that was just, it was just to embrace that. And so I'm constantly asking questions and learning more about my heritage, whereas in getting better understanding of where I come from. So I'm excited for us to all have this conversation, be as honest as we can be in what it means to be Afro Latinx. So let's start here. Do you guys identify as either Hispanic or Latinx or Latina, Latino? Chelsea.
Black.
Right there.
So that's
that.
it. I'm Black.
Okay.
So
Stop there, because I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to come back to you, because that's profound. That's an girl, I feel you. Okay, Ariel, how about you?
I definitely identify with both, especially with being very informed with the heritage of the Black ancestors that we had on both sides. So 50-50 for me.
Okay. Thank you, Ariel. Steve.
I would say that I would definitely identify as Black. I didn't grow up with my mother, who's the Hispanic part of me. I mean, even though I grew up in Panama, I grew up around my Black family, and then obviously transitioned into the United States. Unless somebody sort of knew that I spoke Spanish, they typically just think that I'm a regular Black guy, and I have mostly Black friends. So that's just been my experience.
You know what, Chelsea, and I want you to speak on that. And Steve, thank you for sharing, because I automatically, that I could connect with what Chelsea had just said in that moment. Chelsea, when I asked you and I said, which one? And you said Black, tell me why that was your natural response. And I'm sure there may be similarities with Steve, possibly.
Yes, because I don't deny my Mexican side. My dad was in my life even if my parents were separated. But in terms of like how I'm seen in the world and how I center myself as a Black woman, I have Latina heritage. I'm very Chicano. My upbringing was super Chicano and Black, but how I'm seen in the world is Black. And there's so much anti-Blackness in Latinidad, like throughout all Latin American countries, in my own family, that I used to take a very hard stance. And like how I'm viewed in the world, it's like, oh, that's a Black woman, but she's just mixed with whatever she's mixed with, for the most part. And so that's how I center my politics. That's how I center my everything. Like who I am is a Black woman. But I do have Mexican, Chicano specifically, because my family for the most part is born and raised in California, so it's very California Mexican, which is a lot different than Mexican anywhere else.
And it always plays a part. That always plays a part, right?
Yeah. And
yes,
I was raised in the Black church, the whole thing.
Yeah. I identify with Steve. Steve said, in this country, people see you as a Black man.
Right.
So therefore, for you, that is what in I was having a conversation with Brenda G from Make It Work Nevada. And I said, that's what I'm seen as, right? Now, right now, don't let the hair fool y'all. Okay. I have a big fro, a curly, kinky fro, and I feel like when people see me on site, that is what, and then when they learn and they see my mother or they see, they're like, oh, wait a minute, they're intrigued. So I kind of gravitated towards in school, like you said, Steve, a lot of my friends more so were Black. I mean, I'm friends with all types of races, but as far as I want to say more of an acceptance or connected, where I felt, because I felt my Blackness was always either sometimes questioned, and then my Hispanic side was always questioned, but it was less, I was less questioned by my African American friends versus Hispanic and Latino Latina friends. Ariel, you said yes. What could you identify with?
After hearing what you guys said and taking that in, because I do identify with both, and people identify me as both. I think it's actually interesting to like see how I actually grew up more on the Mexican side of things compared to you guys, right? So I guess that's probably why I'm able to fall right in the middle there, because I definitely was like, I didn't have those issues. I don't know if it's because of where I grew up in town. It's very eclectic on the east side of town. But yeah, I definitely was accepted on both sides. And for some reason, for all my life, I don't know if it's because I've always been proud of both and always spoke very highly and held myself to a very high light because I am both, that people just knew, hey, she's not just Mexican, or hey, she's not just Black. But I am very proud of both sides of my heritage for sure.
Yeah, I would say that I didn't have any identity issues growing up. Um, and growing up in my family, like I mentioned earlier, I grew up with my Black family, and myself and my brothers were the only mixed kids out of all the cousins and all of our extended family. And so I just kind of grew up always being Black. Now, there are times if I grow my hair out long, then people will start to like, are you Hispanic or are you mixed with something? And obviously, also, even though I didn't speak any English when I moved to the United States, I don't have an accent. And then also, I have an English name. Um, for that reason, I think that people just when they see me identify with me, and obviously the way that I carry myself is as a Black man. Also, however, I don't shun my Hispanic heritage at all. I mean, I speak Spanish. I love Hispanic food, and it's just something that is a part of me. I never really looked at it as a distinction of Black versus Hispanic, and maybe because when I grew up in Panama, I was just a kid who spoke Spanish and was living in that country versus having to come here and seeing what the distinctions are because race is more prevalent here than it ever was when I was growing up as a kid.
Mm, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And I think that you touching in that, not that weren't proud of your heritage, you were saying that in that growing up of what most was probably your influence per se, because you said there was only two of you that was of really mixed descent, right? Per se. So do you think that environment kind of is what helped you? Not that you had an identity because you knew who you were, but that's what you more so socially grew up with
Yeah,
that.
socially, obviously, moving here when I moved to Brooklyn, New York, I most of all of my friends were Black, and then when I transitioned to California, it was just the same. A lot of it has to do with sports. I played basketball, high school and college, and that's just been primarily what I have identified with. I mean, I think that's how the world sees me, how the world reacts to me. But at the same token, I think is it's been a blessing to me to not only be of Hispanic culture, but also have the perspective of being born in a different country and seeing what the differences are culturally here. And it was definitely an adjustment when I first moved here because I didn't speak English, so automatically was put in ESL classes. But as I adjusted, and got more accustomed to the American experience, you start to notice that race is something that is really prevalent here, and it makes a lot of determinations as how you're casted in the world.
Mm. Chelsea, I know you wanted to speak up and say something.
Yes, yes, I do. Um, Growing up in my hometown, Oxnard, California, it's my hometown. It's a very Mexican, specifically, um, like city in California, because it's
Hmm.
primarily agriculture. Like my family, the Mexican side, worked in the fields a little bit. Like it's a military town also. Um, so I wasn't necessarily forced to pick a side because I grew up in a working poor Latino neighborhood, and it was Black and Latino neighborhood, more Latino when I was there, but when my mom grew up there, it was probably like a 50-50 split. But over time, Black people moved out of the area where I grew up in and out of my hometown. Um, so I wasn't forced necessarily to pick Latino or Black. It just kind of naturally why I just fit in. And I know how the world sees me. I'm darker skinned. I do have like my hair confuses people, whatever. It's just hair. So, but still, I'm darker skin, and that's how I see myself as a Black woman. My Yeah, as a Black woman. But I don't deny like my Mexican or my Latino side, um, because I know when I'm out in the world, when I'm in the workplace, or I'm anywhere, that's how I'm viewed. Like you, Steve. You know, like most of
Right.
my friends are Black. I have a good amount of Latino friends also, um, but that's naturally where I fit in. Not where I like just chose. There was a brief moment in time where like, do I have to choose to be Mexican or Black? And then I'm like, no, I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't. Right.
You know, and I'm happy that you said that as well, because that was one of the things I refused to deny. I refused to deny it. So whenever there were any questions, I was like, this is who I am. Because I was always proud to know what my mom's background, to know what my
Yeah.
dad, it was not, I never felt like I couldn't say who I was. I'm going to read this to you, some statistical information here. It says, Afro Latinos' views of race are also unique. When asked directly about their race, only 18% of Afro Latinos identify their race or one of their races as Black. In fact, higher shares of Afro Latinos identified as white alone or white in combination with another race, 39%, or volunteered that their race or one of their races was Hispanic, that was 24%. Only 9 identified as mixed race. How do you identify yourself when you are completing census? Now, let me go ahead before we go there, because I know this. Let me tell you what happened about a couple weeks ago. I was applying for a job. It's 2020, right? And I went to go click my background, and it gave me options. Options were white, Black, Asian, but let me go back and be specific. White with no Hispanic origin, Black with no Hispanic origin, right? Then it went to Hispanic with no Black origin. Like everything was, you either had to be full mix Hispanic, you either had to be full Black, you had to be full white. So I'm looking at this going, okay, what is my option? And there used to be other was an option, right? That was there was no other. And it took me back to growing up. I was always irritated, and I turned into Sister Soldier finally in high school because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. We were doing a Scantron test, and I had to bubble in the answer. So I got up and I was mad. I was like, why can't I circle more than one race? Because that's what I am, right? Black, white, mixed. Why can't I do that? And I remember, and I said, and then this is what I started doing, and you guys may judge me for this. So if I felt, I'm being very transparent here, because I felt that I knew what those numbers were trying to say, and I hated it. So if I knew I wasn't going to do very well on a test, I would bubble in white. If I knew I was going to kill the
What?
test and smash it, I was bubbling in black or Hispanic. Or if I really
That's
wanted to
right.
confuse them, I was doing all three, and you're just going to get what you get.
Wow. I never thought about it that deep.
Yeah, so I really it made me mad and angry because I was like, you're telling me that I'm wrong. Me existing in my what I am doesn't even exist or should not exist. And I hated that. Um, Anybody want to speak on that in terms of when you complete your senses or when you're having to identify? Ariel.
I definitely am that rebel that like does multiple. Like y'all can figure it out. I'm putting all the circles, all of the races, and like I told you guys, I have a lot, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. So I need those.
Portuguese, everything.
Yeah, might even write my name.
Right.
Scratch it out and then write it in there, right?
Yeah,
Latina,
yeah. To this day, I
whatever.
still do. I don't choose.
Okay. All right, Chelsea.
Black. Like,
Hey,
I was going to make that prediction. I wasn't
yeah,
sure. Let me let you
yeah,
answer.
you have to. I use my black. If there's,
Uh,
if sometimes it's like white, black, something else, and then you could choose an other, like an additional one, then I'll do like black and Latino or something. When I
okay.
was a kid, I would be so confused, honestly, and I would mark whatever. Sometimes like white, it didn't matter. As a
Got
kid,
it.
because I didn't know, I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, my dad's Mexican, my mom's black. Why aren't I represented? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have to know that, there's so much anti-blackness all over the world, and in Latino cultures across the globe, that a lot of times we are the people that are erased. Like there's no black people around.
Well,
So
I-
yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Steve.
I would say that about 75% of the time I probably put black, and the other 25% I put both. Again, I don't. I've never had the identity issue, but to your point, uh, that especially if you're doing a job application, there might be times where it may be advantageous to put Hispanic over black. But for the most part,
Right.
I'm choosing black, and there are times that I put both.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm rooting for everyone black all the time.
Always.
All the time.
Listen, I love that this is honest in this conversation because that tends to be like the same for me. It's the same. I am proud of who I am. Again, I have my children. They are, essentially a mix of myself and, their father, black, white, and Mexican. But when my children go out into the world, they're darker complected, right? So they see them as black children. Now they do know their family as far as the Mexican side. They are fully aware of that, right? But in the same sense, I know how the world sees my young man, my black son, when he's walking down the street. They don't see him as when I, and like you said, when it comes to in this country itself, right? So we have all the conversations about it, but essentially a lot of times it seems as if we get labeled on site. An example for that, which I found very interesting. I don't know. I'm going to bring up Lala Anthony. If you guys all know her, she's an actress. She's on Power, as well as I know she was a VJ for MTV. And I remember there was all this talk about her because I guess people were totally surprised to find out she was, Afro Latina. And they didn't know that. And Carmelo Anthony himself is as well. But she felt that like automatically that's what people assume, but she does have I believe Puerto Rican roots, as well as a lot of others. Did you guys know, fun fact, did y'all know Tatiana Ali from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Did you know that she's Afro Latina?
No.
I did.
I know you did.
Yeah, but
I saw.
it was like an article I read. It wasn't like something that was easy for me to like find out.
Yeah.
Yet to me, I'm never surprised because So growing up in Panama, you will see like straight up black people. There's a ton of black people in Latin America. Uh, so and I've met a lot of guys that they're black, but their name is like Jose Fernandez. So, but it's not to me that's not a big deal. I think that people here get confused. Uh, and it's kind of weird. I'm not surprised at anyone's heritage actually because there are so many black people just all over the world. I know that we're focused primarily on us being Latinx. However, it shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's awesome too. The only reason for me that I mentioned is because I feel like the reason why that's interesting is because I wonder within their experiences, right? And like you
But
said, and what
the
is
way
they
she looks,
gravitated.
she looks like a black chick. So you wouldn't even think anything of it unless she disclosed it or started speaking Spanish all over the sudden. You're just gonna associate her as being a black girl. That's typically what happens with me, unless again, if I start speaking Spanish for whatever reason. And typically I do it ordering food because let me tell you, I have a firm belief that if you're ordering Chinese, it's better to have a person that speaks Chinese. If I'm ordering Mexican, I'm ordering in Spanish because I think they're gonna cook my food better. And, and then also again, if I let my hair grow long and it's super straight, it's kind of like yours, Chelsea. And then people are looking at. Then I look more Hispanic, and then some people may even approach me in Spanish at that point.
Yeah.
But again, it's crazy because, and then I'll be confused because I'm like, oh shit. Well, they mean to curse guys, but um, because then I'm like, oh, I gotta bust out the Spanish, but it's weird at times.
It is. It's different. I'm going to ask this next question. This, of course, there's a lot. This is loaded. So let me kind of break it down, and I'm going to start with Ariel. Um, what is your experience living in the U.S. at this moment? Or no, your experience, of growing up, okay, in the U.S. What is that like for you? And also, did you have to face any anti-blackness or any anti-Latina or whatever within your own family as well? So now that's going to get, whatever you feel to share, because
I actually did have an experience, and this is the first time that I even ever questioned it, right? Because, like I said, I've grown up equally on both sides, raised with both sides of my family. So one time, I was at my favorite cousin's house, and she's Mexican and white, very, very much so whitewashed. Her mother, raised her, whereas as my uncle, who's Mexican, wasn't really in the picture, right? So I'm, watching her kids, and she comes home and she brings some friends with her, and I'm laying down in the room, and her friend, who happened to be, he might have been Asian and black. He might actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think he was from Belize. So I believe that's South America as well, right?
That's next to
yeah.
So
Mexico.
okay, yeah. So, we're almost very similar in our heritage. And I guess he asked her what I was, and she's like, oh, she's Mexican and black, but she's confused. And that was probably the one
Damn.
thing in my life that I've ever faced, because otherwise, like, I really have been very fortunate. And I think it has a lot to do with my perspective and how I was raised. I don't have any obstacles, even though one day in real life, I may walk outside and find them, you know? But yeah, that was crazy to hear that from my own flesh and blood, someone that I really adored very much. And it did hurt me. It did hurt me. What do you mean I'm confused? About what? Because sometimes, because my hair is this and because the way I talk is like this, or what? So that was a rough one for me.
Thank you for sharing that, Ariel. And I mean, it's in growing up and going through where people in itself calling it confusion instead of embracing someone and knowing that it's not confusion. This is who I am. Mariah Carey, and I'm going to mention her. She is somebody who is also Afro Latina. But with that being said, she always talked about that in acceptance and as far as identity and how people were when they treated her that way. And I think she admitted that she had a little bit of confusion because of the way that she was perceived and the way that she was treated or whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Steve, Chelsea's screen, you went out for a moment. Hopefully you come back up. There you are. I'm going to go to Steve and then I'll go to you, Chelsea.
Again, no confusion for me. I growing up, um, I grew up around all black friends, a black family. So I've never had any confusion as I transitioned to college. You know, I attended a university called Chico State, which is in Northern California, primarily predominantly white. And I was treated like one of the black kids. I mean, I was on the basketball team, and beyond college, transitioned into corporate America. What was been black, there's no confusion, and that comes with its pluses and its minuses, of course. But I've never seen it as a detriment. I always seen it as something that gave me an extra edge because I've always been unique. You know, in my professional life, when I'm in a corporate setting, I'm probably going to be the only black dude in the conference room. And when you're in corporate America, you got to make a one decision. You got to make the decision on whether you're going to be like a Uncle Tom sellout dude, or you just gonna keep it 100. I chose to keep it 100, and it hasn't impacted me in my career. But I know people, once they get into that corporate setting, they feel like they gotta tone it down a little bit. But I've always chose to be myself. Everything I do is black. I date black women. I did. This is what I do. I mean, I don't really like see a distinction, but I also know that I am from Panama. I'm not even a U.S. citizen. I still have a green card, and I speak Spanish. I speak Spanish with my family. I eat Spanish food. I listen to salsa every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm living a black experience because here in America, that's where I'm sort of fitted into.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Chelsea. Chelsea, are you there? Oh, you're muted.
She's on mute. She's on mute.
Oh, I don't know if she
On
can
mute.
hear me.
Okay, wait a minute. I was talking. I was on mute. So, growing up, there was anti-blackness in my own family. So, I was the first black grandchild on the Mexican side. Now there's a bunch of us now. My family's hella mixed on both sides actually. But I was the first one, and I remember being treated differently. My abuela and my grandma, my family. There, can I speak
Keep it a buck.
candidly?
No, I want
Can I use curse
let me
words?
make it clear. I want you to speak candidly because I'm going to be transparent as well. So go ahead and just speak
Okay.
candidly. Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. So my abuela called my other grandma a nigger when they're making tamales for Christmas. All right. So I
Spicy
know
tomato.
fighting. I was really young. I was a baby. I think I was a baby at the time. But even when I can remember in my childhood, I do remember things, until, yeah, I just remember being treated differently within my own family. Because there is lots of anti-blackness in Mexican culture. So you had to deal with it until they were okay, because it's better not to associate yourself as another person of color with black people, because in terms of socially in the United States, we're seen as the bottom of the totem pole. So you're better than us. That's just a guise of white supremacy, actually. But it's better now. Like, I'm in my mid-30s, so that was earlier on in like the 80s and 90s. My family's much more woke in the whole thing now, for sure. But I do remember that growing up as a kid.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I want to go ahead and add on to what you said in terms of that within the Mexican, like, our community per se. I want to say what you said was very honest because I've experienced that as well. And I'm going to tell you that I never felt or experienced it growing up from my family. like growing up, like whenever I see my tias, my tios, and like none of that, my cousins or whatever. And just everything, I felt very loved. I ended up learning from my mom, and I'm going to say this. I have family that's probably watching right now, but I'm going to be very transparent because I don't know what this could do for anybody that's watching right now who can identify with that and understand that everybody has possibly a similar story. Recently, when I tell you my heart was broken, when it was broken, um, it was because when I was younger, my mom had told me that a person in my family, I'm not, I'm going to say a person in my family who I really loved and, didn't necessarily have the closest relationship to, but I had a lot of respect for, that when they found out that my mother was pregnant with a Black child, they said, oh, now we can celebrate Watermelon Day. And so that was when my mom, yeah. So that was okay, was said. Through the years growing up, nothing was ever said around me. It wasn't until this past month or two that he and I were on a phone call. And I never questioned it because I never felt nothing. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that was a way of thinking back then, right? That whole thing of, like you said, as the family evolves, right? And me being the first African American, Hispanic child within the family. Well, we started having a conversation, and he's a Raiders fan, and he was talking about coming. I said, hey, you're gonna come out here, something when this whole COVID, whatever. And he's like, yeah. And then he started talking about protesting and kneeling. Now, we never talked about race. See, that's probably why a lot of this never happened, because I never really spoke about, I guess, racial issues because we weren't around them all the time. So he started talking about the kneeling and how disrespectful it was to the flag and this, that, and the other. And then he went on to say, and I said, wait a minute. I said, they're not protesting, right? They're not doing that. It's protesting police brutality. And he goes, well, they don't have a right to protest. The only people in this country that have a right to protest are Native Americans. And then he went on to say that if they don't like it, they can go back to their country. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. And this is somebody close. This is a close family member to me. And I said, well, I'm one of those people. I said, I was just at City Hall speaking about Black Lives Matter. I said, I protest, I advocate. I said, so I need to go back to my country. And he laughed and said, where is your country? I said, this is my country. And I said, so, and then he laughed, and then he goes, there's someone close to me. And I was fighting back the tears because I could not believe I was having, now I could see somebody at the grocery store wearing a Make America, I could see that with somebody who has those ideals, but my own blood. And so as he continued on, he further went on to say how, and I said, wait a minute, as far as protesting, I said, civil rights, did you miss Jim Crow? Slavery? I said, this country in itself and what Black people have gone through? He said, well, when slavery was over, you didn't see any of them going back to their country, did you? And at that point, it was like, wow, was no backing down, could hear the hurt in my voice, was very strong on how he felt. And knowing that and I said, living in this country, I said, I am seen as a Black woman. And I said, which I am. And I said, and my children, I said, the amount of racism we've experienced, my son was called the N-word outside of his school. They came home crying. My son was trying to get the Black off of him. And it wasn't because we didn't speak highly of Blackness in our family. It was because the white kids on the playground in kindergarten said, we can't play with you because you're Black. My daughter wanting blonde hair, the same, because she wanted to, right, be beautiful like the princesses that she was seeing on. And I exposed her. But I told him, I said, you don't understand. And he just was dismissive. And I said, I'm going to respectfully, because I wanted to curse him out. I ain't gonna lie. Because if he was somebody else, I probably would have read him to filth. Right? Okay. And at that point, I said, I'm going to respectfully get out of this conversation. I'm hurt, I'm disappointed, and I'm sad. And I said, but I can't continue to speak to you. We got off the phone, and that was it. The next day, he sent a text apologizing, but I've decided I cannot. Like, I can't, like, because you won't advocate for me and my children. How do I know? Like, you clearly don't feel like, and that's where that
No,
was my.
that's super unfortunate that you had that experience. I'm sorry to hear about that. It always confuses me how non-whites feel like they any better than black people as a
Mm,
whole. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous. They get discriminated against just as well. But being black, you're gonna, we get the worst end of it. But at the end of the day, my advice to you and how you raise your children, because this is how I've raised mine, is that you got to kill them with success. You got to be a good upstanding person and do the best that you can, because you're not going to change somebody's attitude who feels that way. I
yep.
mean, you can try, but that has to come from them and in their heart. But you can't limit yourself and allow them to put you in a box because of their ignorant views. And you just have to continue to move forward. I think the best thing that you did is to say, "Hey, I'm gonna respectfully have to cut you off because we're not cool." And unless, if it was me, unless I would have gotten a sincere apology from this family member, I'm good on you.
Yep.
We really can't continue to have this relationship. And even though it does hurt, got to keep it pushing, love. It ain't cool.
Chelsea, I saw you, and I knew as soon as I saw you, and I did encourage, I did
I
it.
was
I
like,
think
bye.
because I didn't say who, but what I did is I haven't. For me
Hmm.
personally, and I called my mama. I said, Mom, I love you. I said, but I'm just letting you know I'm done. I said, enough was said. I'm done because that's not love to me. I cannot. I cannot. So we have a comment coming in. Chelsea, you were about to say something. I'm going to read this comment. Jessica says, I completely feel you. There are people in my life too who downplay and degrade the struggle of folks. I personally make it a point to shut it down when I hear it, but I love how you responded to that experience, and I will do that from now on. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing that with us. Chelsea, what were you going to say? I saw the deuces. It was just plain out deuces, or what else?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done. It's
Yeah,
done.
yeah. Like
I'm
at this point in my life, like I do even have family members. My family's pretty now. Now, our family's hella mixed on both sides, so it's not really an issue. I do have a cousin that is supportive of the current administration in office. So, and because he looks white.
ah,
He's not, but he looks white, and yeah, it's totally upsetting. And he works in an industry where his whiteness is a benefit. So him being
Mhm.
Latino, him being this big Mexican dude, he's seen as more scary being this like 6'4" Mexican dude. But if he's just a 6'4" white guy, it's fine. He's,
well,
you
I
know,
want to speak to something you had
and I'm
mentioned
like, look,
before.
uh-huh.
But you
And
mentioned
I'm like,
something
look,
before,
bro, like,
which
uh-huh.
that ties into that because you mentioned this earlier on about your darker complexion. Colorism, colorism within just Hispanic culture itself, right? As far as the darker,
Mm-hmm.
because that, right? And then when you add that combination of being African American and Latino, like depending on your complexion, your melanin, and where you are in that, that
Mm-hmm.
seems to also play a part as well. And what you said is, in his case, where he is choosing to more so identify as more of a white male, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he can
Mm-hmm.
pass, right? So with you, like you were talking about, as you being darker in that, have you experienced anything within not just your family, but overall? I know you said people identify you as black, but from I guess more so the Hispanic side
Mm-hmm.
in terms of your complexion.
Um, hmm. Can you repeat that again? You're kind of breaking up. Let me leave and I'll come back. One second.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I was just talking about that whole. Any of you, either one of you guys can identify with that, or no? No, got it. Okay, so I figured she was because she had mentioned that earlier. So she comes in. I know time. I'm looking at time. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the other question, which is, what is your experience living in the U.S. in terms of police brutality and racism in America? Steve, you saying that you identify as a Black man.
Yeah,
How
it's
does that affect
funny. Uh, I hardly ever get pulled over. I hardly have had a lot of negative experiences with police. Um, Part of it is because if I rarely get tickets, but if I do get a ticket, I'm yes sir, yes ma'am. I just do what I need to do to get it over with, and I don't give them any pushback. Uh, but I've been fortunate in terms of that. I rarely get profiled, so it's I don't know. I don't know why I'm somewhat unique in that I'm not but I'm in no way minimizing the experience that some of my friends or relatives have had. It just hasn't happened to me as much.
Got it. Ariel, what about for you?
So I was a very bad kid, actually. I had a really rough patch from 15 to 20 where I was in trouble and in and out of jail. So I also, once the jig was up, I was basically like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, as well. But, what's going on right now and what has been going on for years now is totally unacceptable. I'm not one of those people who doesn't believe in not having police. But what's going on right now is just, like I said, it's unacceptable because in 2020, we should be treating each other as humans. That being said, my
Agreed.
brother is a medical police officer here in Las Vegas, Nevada. He works in Bolden, which is in the historical west side where my family is. And me and my brother both try to stay pretty active with what's going on with this stuff right now and sharing other kinds of views. And we have about 10 friends that are also police officers who are Black or Latino. And I think it really has a lot to do as well as where you live. So here on the West Coast and here in Las Vegas in particular, and you live here, so you might be able to agree. It's sad to say, but it's really not based off of race. It's more off of obedience here. So they'll hurt anybody. It's not like we're just necessarily being profiled here in Las Vegas, but there is a divide between us and them. So I personally haven't experienced anything, but I'll be damned if something like that happens in front of me. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Now that Chelsea came in, because I'm looking at the time, somebody even chimed in and said, yes, please speak about the colorism. So when we were talking about that in your complexion of your skin, what I was saying for you, being darker, right? Because
Mhm.
then I know as far as there is colorism when it comes to uh,
Is she that dark though?
Latino and Hispanic, huh?
I'm brown.
I said, I mean, you brown, but it's not like you like
Yeah,
purple
I know,
black.
I know.
But she
No, I'm
said
not.
for her, she said she isn't. But what she said
I'm
was,
not.
you said,
I'm the brownest in my family, though.
would you say in comparison to other family members or no?
Yeah, well, on both sides actually, the black side's like kind of light skinned, to be honest with you, for the most part. But on the Latino side, my dad is actually pretty dark, so me and him are about the same complexion. He's just a little more red. I'm like a more yellow brown than he is. Um, but for my family on the Latino side, it wasn't based on like skin color. It was just based on proximity to blackness and what that social construct is was the issue. It was not. It wasn't skin color because my family is a dark skinned Mexican family. So it
Okay.
wasn't that.
Okay.
It was just
I was
proximity to blackness as a construct and as a culture, the whole thing.
so for me, I know one of the things that I struggled with too, though, but was also from my Black side of telling me I'm not Black enough,
I had that too.
right?
It was right. Like, oh, yeah. When I was a kid, there was a
Oh, look at me.
little.
I was called Rachel Dolezal. Let me tell you why. Because they told
Man.
me
That's cold
they told
blooded.
me because I've always been an activist, always been an
Uh-huh.
activist. And I remember I used to get the jokes because I was always any type of Black like association, I'm there. You know what I mean? And they were like, why are you protest? Like, it's that whole thing. Even I want to say Colin Kaepernick, who I know he's not mixed with Hispanic or Latino descent. But with that being said, with him being lighter skinned and him kneeling, it was like, oh, it's always the light ones that want to be the ones that are so pro-black when they're not even, you know what I mean? So I dealt with that at time.
We're not black.
Yes,
I
you
dealt
ain't
with that
black,
too.
black.
You ain't
Or
black.
you can only
Horrible.
celebrate, or you can only
Right.
celebrate half the month, or you can, you know what I mean? Like those type of things,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yes.
It was
So
funny, like jokes, but like as a kid, I was like, damn, that's fucked up.
that
But
is,
look,
Yeah.
like
listen,
you're
okay.
only half black. Like, I remember in high school, there's me, my friend, she was half Mexican as well, and my homeboy would be like, "There's only one. You guys only equal one black person." I'm like, whatever.
I want to, we're gonna have to wrap it up in a bit. Um, and I want to still go to the side of when it comes to the Hispanic and Latina side. I feel like even when we look and we talk about Hispanic, don't ever call a Mexican Puerto Rican. Do not ever call Puerto Rican Mexican. I remember being in a college class and there was a girl that was sitting there and we were talking about how people are the racism and discrimination. And I kid you not, this lady, she was very fair skinned. And she goes, I know people are so crazy. She was like, when they look at me and stuff like that, she goes, they think I'm Mexican. When I tell them I'm Spanish, they're like, you're Mexican. And then from there, I say, no, I'm not dirty. And my professor looked at me because, see, people didn't know because there were no other Hispanic looking people in the class. And she said that. And I said, excuse me? And it was as if Mexicans were the lowest, right? When it came to the whole thing of, well, if you're from Spain, if you're Spanish, if you're this versus Mexicans are dirty or beneath, right? And I was like, wow. And so I even find, I feel within Latino, Latina, Hispanic, as much as you want unity, there seems to still be that distinction. Now, being proud of yourself, of course, someone Puerto Rican doesn't want to be like, acknowledge me for who I am. Don't just say, just because you're Hispanic, like, just like Asian, not everybody's Chinese, not everybody's, Korean. But I thought that was very interesting. Have you guys ever heard that in terms of the whole Latino or Latina culturally as well?
I mean, I have to check people all the time. They might say, like,
Absolutely.
"Are you Puerto Rican? Are you Dominican?" I'm like, "No, I'm from Panama," and I just keep it at that. Like, don't even play me.
Ariel. I thought Ariel was going to say something.
I think
I
she's
think
frozen.
she's frozen. Listen, the time is 5:57. So what we're going to do is, and I
Oh,
told
I
Brenda
was
G.
agreeing definitely.
Oh, it's breaking up. So we're having some technical issues. But let me say this, because the time is 5:58 right now. I told Brenda G. I said, Brenda G. This is going to have to be a 2-part conversation because we still got some more questions here, and I feel like you guys have a lot
Yes.
more to say. I'm
Yeah.
gonna extend the invite. Would you guys be willing to have a part 2 on another day where we can delve in some other things about how you guys celebrate culturally within your families and everything else? Would you guys be open to another session
I'm
with
down.
this conversation?
I'm down. I'm down as well. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
This has been enlightened conversation and hearing you guys' perspective. I really appreciate you guys' openness and thank you for inviting me as well.
Yes. I appreciate you, Steve, for sharing your experience. Chelsea, anything else you wanted to add before we got out?
Um, no, not necessarily, but it's very multi-layered. Our individual experience. It's interesting to listen to our individual experiences as Afro Latinos and how it's different in many ways. So
Yeah.
it's a conversation that's not being had really. Besides some very kind of isolated spaces. I think there's like certain groups and like I've seen it on Instagram in certain groups, but in general, it's a conversation that is not very prevalent. It's not in the mainstream at all.
Not
Not
at
at all.
all. We
No.
and I think that Ariel, can you hear us? Because you're frozen. And I think she might be having technical difficulties. I wish that comment, it just went away. There was somebody that was commenting there. Okay. I think it's I just know Mahalia. I'm going to say Mahalia. I am Hispanic, but I have to acknowledge that I am white passing. Thank you for bringing up colorism and division within the Latino community. These are very real and greatly appreciated, you having this discussion. So I'm happy that you guys were transparent. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Again, we thank you to Make It Work Nevada as well, Brenda G. I appreciate you piecing this together, and I look forward to another conversation. And thank you to all that have listened. Make sure you share this with everybody else that you just never know who this could help or help them identify. You guys have a wonderful day, and once again, we appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure meeting you all.
Bye.